All through growing up, my parents owned a business. I knew that I wanted to follow in their footsteps as a business owner. I saw their business grow from nothing to quite successful. I saw the amount of work that it took, but I also saw the reward that they gained from it as far as the freedoms that we were able to have as children and go on cool trips and that sort of thing and kind of experience life. I knew that I wanted to run a business, but I didn't really like the business they were in. They were doing wire harness manufacturing, so cord sets, plugs, that sort of thing. And it just wasn't for me. I'd spend summers working for them and it would be like on an assembly line, pressing a button all day, just waiting for the clock to run out and get out of there and go home. So I knew I wasn't passionate about the work, but I knew I wanted the challenge of running a business. I really loved watching Disney movies when I was young. I loved the idea that you could watch drawings essentially, but you weren't looking at them as drawings, you were looking at it as characters, and you were able to suspend your disbelief. And that always kind of, even as a young kid, blew my mind. That I knew I was watching pictures, but I was emotionally connected to those pictures, and I wanted to learn how to do that. And so I went to school for animation with that kind of as an end goal. And then I had an opportunity through Sheridan College. When I graduated, they brought me on board to manage a project for Alias Wavefront at the time. That's the company that owned Maya. And they were gonna do a short film for SIGGRAPH. And they asked if I wanted to come on board and direct it, and I said yes. So I was responsible for hiring the staff, managing the project. And it was my first real taste of like, not only do I wanna do this, I can do it and I'm good at it. And so from there, Nancy and I registered RUNE as a company. And then from there, we got into working with EA on Need for Speed Pro Street. And then we went from there to being able to work on Power Rangers TV show, doing intro animations for Power Rangers. And so it just kind of snowballed and grew. All right, so Andrew still has a bunch of stuff that he's got to fix on multiplayer. We met in college, or actually getting into college. So we both knew that animation was our passion. We both knew that we wanted to start a business. And so because we had that in common from the beginning, I think our goals have always been aligned. So the family life grew around our professional life. It wasn't like someone who has a job meets somebody new and then have to juggle everything. Work has always kind of been a priority, and we've always kind of scheduled our lives around work.
1, 2, 3,
Well, we gotta talk about work right now, buddy. All right, so.
We've always had kind of like a live-work space in our last location in Toronto. With our first daughter, Micah, she was kind of always in the studio from day one, pretty much. Always involved in the work, and I don't know, maybe it also kind of gives it a little bit more relaxed. You know, you're working, but then you also have a kid to kind of, I don't know, have a little fun with every once in a while. So for me, it's like a lot of time management, I guess, of working a lot when kids are sleeping, or, you know, late nights when I finally have time, you know, away from kids to get work done. But that'll change, like, as everything changes as kids grow. And
I guess there is a balance, but it's always been kind of work-centric. That's our life. It's what we love to do, and we're really passionate about it, and we want to create great things that other people can enjoy. We had done a project for a rock band called Hail the Villain, and it was basically their management came to us, told us that this band had written a bunch of songs, wanted each song to be a music video, but then also wanted all their merchandise and everything to revolve around this narrative. So we put out a music video. It would introduce some of the characters and a bit of the plot, some of the world, and then you'd go to the website, and that was like a moment frozen in time out of the narrative. You could interact with and explore and find different new elements of the story. And so by doing that, we realized that creating all these different components of narrative strengthened one another. And so that gave us the real first taste of creative success. Like, oh my God, we've got something here. We've got an ability. We can really shape a story in a way that people respond to it. But we wanted to do something for ourselves that, you know, basically took what we had done for Hail the Villain, but do it in a way that it's not for an end client, it's for us. Doing a short film is great as an exercise and you can get some notoriety from it, but the ability to make a return on a short film on its own is quite difficult. Whereas if you do a game, you can invest pretty much the same amount of resources and budget as doing a short film into something that's directly marketable. And so we sat down and we started thinking about a game. So the challenges that I think that we faced the most is really managing cash flow and delivering a high level internally. And that was a huge challenge, being able to manage time and resources. I think we overcame it. It's part of the reason the game took so long to do. So I think we need to talk a bit more about budget.
About budget? Okay. Yeah. What do you mean?
I've been working on the trailer, and I think we need a bit of a better ending for it. Like, I think we should get him to remix just the ending part of the trailer to get a bit more oomph when we get to point of sale.
Okay.
I don't think it's like a total redo.
Okay.
But I think it'll help drastically in kind of selling the game.
Okay, that shouldn't be too crazy. So let's find out from him how much it'll be.
Okay.
All right, what else? You said budget, you're scaring me. What else?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it, yeah.
Okay. What about Craig or?
No, Craig won't need to do anything. It's just my time right now towards the edit.
The game took us about 5 years to complete. Now, if we had an investor that kind of gave us a pot of money to work with, we probably could have done that in a lot less. But because we were doing it all ourselves, it took us longer because we had to take on jobs to make the money, put it towards the game. And it kind of also kept the control ours. So we didn't have to report to someone else. It was our game completely, no one else kind of told us what to do. Money didn't dictate it. Same thing with the schedule, like we weren't operating under a strict deadline. So we could tweak it as much as we needed or wanted to make it just right.
I think, so the elements I'm proud of, I think, are the mechanics of the game. We spent a lot of time really making sure that the mechanics felt good when you were controlling it, that it felt like you really had control over the ball. I come from a background of like skateboarding and BMXing when I was a kid. So I wanted, if you take on those sports, I'll give skateboarding as an example. You buy a skateboard for the first time and it's about just balancing, right? Like trying not to break your legs, just balance on the board. And gradually you're hopping over a skateboard and then 2 skateboards, 3 skateboards, and then I want to learn to kickflip. And so you keep developing the skill set where you're constantly going out there and it's a lot of repetition and a lot of like, oh, I fell again, damn it, I want to do that again. And so, but the payoff when you land a trick after trying again and again, and it's huge. It's just like this big emotional reward. So that was an element that I wanted to build into the game. I wanted you to be able to try again. And yes, you're gonna get frustrated with it, but because of that frustration, when you succeed, you get a really nice emotional reward. And so I think we succeeded at doing that. I think that we succeeded at making the game, you feel like you're in control of the ball. It doesn't feel at any moment that the game is ripping you off. It's not like, this game sucks, blah. Every time you make a mistake, as frustrated as you get, it's your own fault. And so just it pushes you to build that skill set. And I think those were the main objectives that I think we met. And I'm excited to see how people will respond to that. I have a lot of future plans for the game. The issue is it really requires, in order for us to get to our future plans for the game, it requires that the game makes enough money to be able to reinvest in those future plans.
And hopefully we will see the interest and the excitement in terms of sales. That's the next.
So if the game were to fail or not to do well, I think that would be pretty emotionally taxing. Might take us a couple of weeks to recover, But I think we would try our best to kind of move on and learn from any sort of past mistakes and go from there.
Hold left to the